Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be doing another review on a TV series called The Handmaid's Tale, which I'm sure most, if not all of you guys are aware of. I actually haven't done a TV series review in a very long time. I think I've only done two of them in the past. One was 13 Reasons Why and the other was And with an E, which I will link them both up in case you're interested in checking them out. But the main reason why I'm doing this video now is because I just finished watching the entire season 1 last weekend, and I know that season 2 is coming out at the end of April, so let's just get right into it. So as always, I'll be starting off with the non-spoiler / summary of this show. As most of you guys know, the TV series The Handmaid's Tale is based off the best-selling novel by Margaret Atwood, which came out in the 80s. The story is set in the near future, specifically in Gilead, which is considered as New England today, which is now a totalitarian society. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that name right, which basically means that all public and private life is run by the government and that the government has sole authority over everything. Also, at this point in time, there is an environmental disaster, specifically with fertility rates. I'm not really sure why, but birth rates have plummeted and fertile women is actually quite rare, and having healthy babies is actually even more rare. And Gilead is now ruled by a somewhat religious regime, and they actually treat women as if they are properties of the state, and women are actually assigned specific roles based on their fertility. If they're fertile, then they're actually forced into sexual servitude called handmaids, and they're basically assigned to commanders whose the reason why they're assigned to command is because their own wives are barren and they actually can't have their own names anymore, and they have to become of their commander. So for example, the main character in this series and in the book is called Offred, which means literally is of Fred, and that's Fred is the commander's name, so she is of Fred. So that's essentially like that's the status of handmaids. And if they're not fertile, then they essentially have two choices. One is being an aunt, which is basically the only female position having any sort of power. They're the ones who have direct power and control over other females, specifically the handmaids. Otherwise, they are assigned as Marthas, who are essentially maids / cooks. So as I stated already, the main character of this show is called Offred. She actually had her own life before this whole society took place, and she had a daughter called Hannah and a husband called Luke, and her forbidden name was June, and right now she is the handmaid of the commander Fred. And essentially, as the show continues, she is trying to survive in this new society while being a handmaid, as well as trying to figure out how to reconnect with her daughter, and trying to figure out if her husband is even alive at this point. So that's essentially what this TV series is about in its gist. Honestly, I think this series is incredibly overhyped. I remember when it first came out, that's all everyone kept talking about. They're like, oh my god, did you watch Handmaid's Tale? It's so good. But honestly, I binge watched it with my two friends. We decided to just spend a Sunday and just binge watch the entire series. So that was 10 episodes, so basically 10 hours. And to be completely honest, we didn't think, none of us were really into it until probably episode 7 or 8, at which point that was when we felt that, okay, the show is starting to get kind of interesting now. And because it took us so long for us to finally think, oh, the show is actually becoming a little interesting, that means that the buildup of the show is so slow. There are also a lot of elements to the plot that aren't very clear, such as Mayday, the eyes, etc. They're all kind of just implied but not specifically stated. And I also couldn't really connect with June / Offred. There were a lot of decisions that she made prior to the government being overthrown by this totalitarian society and during the whole situation that I really questioned. So anyways, I was not entirely impressed with the show. I don't know if I'm going to watch season 2 just because I'm really worried that it's going to be really slow like season 1, where it takes forever for the show to be kind of interesting. So as of right now, I'm not sure if I'm going to watch season 2. So that's all I'm going to say in terms of the non-spoiler section. If this show does sound interesting, then go check it out. And if you've already watched it already, then come with me to the spoiler section. So there were definitely a lot of things that I was shocked about. I just couldn't believe my eyes when I was saying it. Obviously, I knew the premise beforehand, before watching the show, but to actually see it all play out, I was kind of just, I don't know, I was kind of flabbergasted, to be honest. So first of all, I'm really shocked by the whole totalitarian society, that the US basically became such a society, and the fact that, okay, so technically I guess the US fled. There's like this little America that Luke escaped to, but the US in general, or like New England overall, which I think includes Florida for some reason, because they keep talking about Florida oranges. uh so like for some reason, like the East Coast, I guess I'm assuming, is now this totalitarian society. I just couldn't believe that it became such a thing, because it just seems so different than what we are used to and what we've been for the past like 250 years. Like, I don't know, I was just kind of shocked by that whole situation. So despite me being shocked about the whole society situation, I kind of, in some logical sense, understand where they're trying to go with the whole birth defects and the birth rates plummeting, because I understand like the whole, you know, like if there's no kids, obviously there's no future generations. So I understand the urgency. So in theory, I kind of understand the whole sexual servitude, but at the same time, wouldn't it be more efficient to try to impregnate as many women as you can possibly can by as many men as you possibly can? It doesn't really make sense for me that they have this huge, you know, environmental disaster happening, and they're trying to limit the number of times these women are having sex, as well as limiting the number of men having sex with these women. It doesn't seem logical to me. It seems like they're only letting these high-ranking officials have sex with people other than their wives because they're barren. So I mean, in that theory, I kind of logically I understand, but it doesn't make sense to me that they're trying to limit all of these regulations and whatnot by not trying to do it as efficient as possible. And the main reason why I thought the whole thing was so strange was the fact that, so basically for those, okay, so the ceremony is where the wives and the husband are there, which is kind of weird, to be honest. Like, I just don't know how you can get in the mood, but I guess it's supposed to be seen as impersonal as possible. And so they have this whole ceremony thing that happens once a month when the woman is most fertile, which, okay, yes, I understand, makes them more susceptible to getting pregnant. But the biggest thing is, why would all these women serve only one man? Like, it would seem to me that they should try to be having sex as often as possible with as many men as possible. I don't know. And also, the one thing that kind of stood out to me was the time that she went to the doctors, and the doctors was like, yeah, most of the men, like the commanders, are sterile. And I'm just like, okay, so these men are sterile, yet they are the ones who are having sex with all these women, or like these handmaids. But why? Because at this point, it doesn't really make sense to me as to, if they're sterile, then they can't exactly impregnate this woman, and the main goal right now is to have as many kids as possible. So it just, logically, I'm just like, it's not computing. So anyways, enough about the whole sex and the handmaid and how illogical it is, because let's just move on to another topic, and that is how people react. I am really shocked as to how people reacted to this society. Okay, so there's definitely men who disagreed. Okay, so they tried helping like the women escape, and they were killed in the process. So those men, I'm like, kudos to you, you know what's going on, or you know what's up. But then there were also people such as the Mexican ambassador, which I was so shocked, by the way. She's like this female in power, and when she first heard of Alfred, or June, whatever you want to call her, when she first heard of her situation, she was being watched by the commander and like everyone else. So she was just like, oh yeah, I'm happy, like this is what I chose, because, you know, she was kind of forced to say that. But then later there was a chance when she did tell the Mexican ambassador, like, hey, I'm actually being raped here, I did not choose this, we're all maimed if we don't go along with it. She literally was just like, oh, I am so sorry to hear that, but there's nothing I can do. And I'm just like, wait, but you're this female in power, and you're essentially like part of the Mexican government, and yet you are just gonna look at the blind eye. And not to only mention that, but she was there actually like in talks of having like human trafficking. That's literally what she's trying to have a trade. She's trying to trade for these handmaids because she wants to have fertile women, because she's like, yeah, like in my country, we haven't had any babies for like 6 years or something. So yes, I get her desperation, but is she really going to lower herself in terms of her morals or her ethics to start trading human beings? And not only that, but just to look the other eye, like look the other way when she finds out that these females and these women are being raped and maimed and mistreated in all sorts of ways. I was just really, really shocked to hear that from her specifically. So just talking a little bit about Nick and the situation with that as well. Honestly, I'm not really sure what to think about the situation. Okay, I get that he's cute and whatnot, and it seems that at first she thought her husband was dead. So I kind of get that flow. But then when she found out that her husband was alive, she still continued to sleep with him and like sneak to his place to sleep with him. At which point my friends and I were thinking, what is the purpose behind this? Was she doing it merely because she wanted some pleasure out of it, or was she trying to do it because she gets herself pregnant so she's like treated a little better? If you're pregnant in this society, by the way, you're kind of treated really well. But it doesn't really seem like her personality didn't really fit that. Or was she trying to angle with the fact that he is essentially part of the eye and use it as a way as like to essentially or eventually escape from this place? So I'm not really sure what her angle is, but maybe she's just using it for the pleasure. I don't know. But that whole situation was kind of weird too for me, or like at least I didn't really understand it, because he clearly likes her and he clearly wants her to trust him. So I don't know, I think he'll play a major role or a more major role in season 2. So anyways, there's definitely a lot more characters to talk about, such as Maura and Janine and all the other girls who were had their own little roles, or Off Glenn, which I don't know her real name actually. I forgot her real name, but the one that was a lesbian and, you know, had that surgery. Oh my god, that was terrible. When I saw it, I was like, whoa, like I didn't know what was going on. My friend was like, oh my gosh, she had her clit removed. Anyway, so there's so much things to discuss for the other characters, but I think I kind of touched already the major points of what I want to say in terms of my review for this show, because otherwise I'll be talking about the show forever. So I'm just gonna go jump to the ending because I really want to touch on that a little bit. I found the ending to be incredibly vague. Actually, when I went to Google this afterward to see how well it followed the book, because I never read the book before, it showed on Google, it showed that apparently the ending was the same as the series, where Offred, or June, goes into that van and she's basically captured by the eye, or she's taken by the eye, and her future is unknown. And that's essentially where the book ends as well, but there is this epilogue about, you know, the future. So I'm assuming that the season 2 will be more in depth in terms of what's going to happen next. So it definitely makes sense that there is a second season, because this first season clearly ended on a cliffhanger. And there were definitely a lot of unanswered questions that I'm hoping that season 2 will reveal, such as who or what exactly is the Mayday? Like, what is their purpose? Who belongs in this organization? I'm assuming right now at this point that it is a resistant group, but other facts about it are completely unknown. What's going to happen to Hannah, because the last episode, it turns out that the commander's wife actually knows about Hannah and knows exactly where she is, and she's using it as leverage because apparently now Offred is pregnant. So now that situation's going on. I'm not sure how that's going to end up, because now she's pregnant but she's taken by the eye. So definitely a lot of unanswered questions there. So overall, at the end of the day, part of me, like a small part of me, is kind of interested in seeing what season 2 or how season 2 will play out, because there are certainly a lot of unanswered questions from season 1 that are kind of intriguing. But like I said already, I'm really afraid that they will start out so slow again, and I really don't want to waste so many hours of my life watching a show and then finally, like the last like 2-3 episodes, like, oh, it's finally interesting, because it's just not worth it, I think. So overall, end of the day, I think the series is seriously overhyped. I still haven't decided if I'm going to watch season 2 or not. I think I'll have to make a decision at some point, maybe when I have more time or something, which apparently would never happen. But at this point, I don't think I will watch season 2. I'll have to see what others say first, but at the same time, since season 1 was seriously overhyped, I have a feeling that season 2 might be overhyped too. But I don't know, I guess we'll find out. So I mean, let me know in the comments below if you will watch season 2, and if you agree with what I had to say for season 1, because I'm really curious to see what others think, because I cannot be the only person who thinks that this series is overhyped, because Come on. But anyways, that's all I have to say in terms of this TV series review. As always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's it for today, guys. Thank you. Bye.